why don't you record it when people hear, because then you can say, is everyone all right?
In London, where the virus is quite rife at the moment. Oh, Laura's come, Tara. Laura Bird.
That's good. Yeah, we'll leave it for a couple of minutes. Hey everybody, and then maybe we could go around like everyone.
Listen, guys, it's your workshop, so you just say what you want. Yeah. I always love hearing from people.
We did, yeah. All right, we'll follow our own slides.
When do you want to start?
We'll start now, because if people come in, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's all like
Give that to Thingy.
So basically, this is all going to be recorded and put on the Earth Moves YouTube. So if there's something that you missed, you can go back and watch it. And we're also going to share all the slides. And we've also got a toolkit that we're going to share with you, so you can like look back and like get some hints and stuff from that if you're making your own campaign or want to set up your own social media. So, and a good example of like campaigning and how social media works really well is obviously Earth Moves. And David Tiedemann is the Earth Moves communications officer, and he's been really great with getting our social media to where it is today, which looks amazing, obviously. And that was commented by the cooperative movement who helped fund the Telegraph Lane site. They commented that how good that was, and it's really important, like having a presence on social media and in the media to help you get funding and also to help your campaigns get off the ground. So
Mark, do you think before we start, should we go round, because there's a couple of people here that I don't know that well, and it'd be lovely to hear from them, and just so that everyone knows each other. So if people could go around, just introduce themselves and just say what it is that they do and how, you know, improving their communications, whether it be a small business, a community organisation, band, art or whatever. So let's
Kitty, do you want to start?
Do you want to start with David?
I'll start with David. David.
Hi everyone. I'm David. I do, as Tara mentioned, I do the social media for Earth Moves, and then I also do social media work for a few other, particularly one other charity around farming. So yeah.
David, you've been involved in the Jewish farming, like permaculture group as well, haven't you?
Yeah, so I work with a farm in Kent called Sadeh, which is a Jewish farm, and they kind of do Jewish events, and they also do lots of growing and workshops with the local community and that kind of thing.
Sounds beautiful.
And if you want to read some of David's amazing Jewish vegan recipes, it's in our latest magazine, Earth Voices. So
it is.
Check it out. Okay, so
maybe we'll have when things are better, we can all have a little feast, and all the cooks, Mark can do Sicilian vegan, David can do Jewish vegan. We'll just have international vegan feast.
Amazing.
And I'll make a triple layer chocolate vegan cake.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Wow.
I do believe we've been promised that before.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Definitely. Should we go around and introduce? So, Kitty, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah. So I'm Kitty, and I'm part of Earth Moves. I was involved with the film that we did, so that was really fun. And obviously, we'd all like Stu. Sorry, Stu's not here at the moment, but it's me, Kitty, and Stu, and we'd love
Kitty and Stu. You are Kitty.
Sorry, me, Susie, and Stu, and we all can't wait to get properly into the permaculture work and on the site. We're really looking forward to that. Yeah, we're really excited. Yeah, I presume is it going to be more spring, summer, probably like late, probably spring. Yeah.
As soon as possible.
When we're allowed.
We're flooding, so as soon as that's gone, we'll be there.
We can get there. Yeah, just like
The sun will be up, so it'll give us some shelter, so that'll be good.
Great. So, Gelly Berg, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Yeah.
Oh, can I just say hello? Hello, I'm Susie. I'm Kitty's twin, and I'm involved as well with Earth Moves.
Sorry about that.
Stu, do you not want to say hello? Stu,
Okay,
sorry. Hello as well. Stu.
Oh, Stu's upstairs.
Sorry, he's not here at the moment. He's on his phone to his parents. Sorry.
Right,
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Kelly, do you want to introduce yourself?
Me, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm Gelly, and I run a CIC called Lingua Franca World Community,
Cool.
Wow.
and we basically are a collective of BAME
Well,
freelancers.
not really. Nobody was invited, so.
Oh, sorry.
Kind of them, but I mean,
Sorry.
we're not.
Sorry, I'll just mute you guys for a second and then. Oh no, I can't. But so you're. Is it about teaching French to people?
No, it's nothing to do with French. We're a collective of BAME creative freelancers.
Okay.
And
Cool.
it's about lobbying for equality, visibility, and equal opportunities.
Cool. That sounds really interesting. Paula, do you want to
Paula? Interview Gelly for our next edition of Earth Voices and give her
I'm so
organisation.
sorry, I'm really struggling hearing you. Earth Moves.
Okay, so if everyone mutes, and then when you're introducing yourself, you can unmute then.
Yeah.
Just saying, Gelly, about your organisation sounds so fabulous. We have a magazine called Earth Voices, which we'd love you to be in the next edition, because you're doing work that we really support. So great. The more of us doing this type of work, the more beautiful this world will be. We just all have to be in on that dream.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you've come tonight, and I really hope you find useful things from this workshop, which I'm sure you will. If you want to speak to next, Tara.
So Paula, do you want to, not you, Paula, other Paula, do you want to introduce yourself? I think you're Galaxy on the
yeah, I am. Yeah. I don't really know what to say. I'll just say I'm involved with Earth Moves, and it's something I really believe in, and I'm really enthusiastic, and I just want to garden loads and hopefully grow some food, and yeah. I don't really know what to say when I'm on the spot.
Paula's a bit like me. I think she likes the written word better.
Yeah.
Got a fabulous article about diversity and neurodiversity and biodiversity, about autism and related other neurodiverse conditions, and how good it is to have different sorts of minds in this world.
Yeah.
Like it's good to have biodiversity. So really, everyone, if you're interested in that, that's in Voices Are Free magazine that I run with Tara and Brittany.
So Carol, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, okay. Hello, I'm Carol with an E. I've known Paula, obviously Tara, Mark, for many years now, through belly dance. And I've become involved with Earth Moves, like Kitty and Susie, with the filming, which was just tremendous. And Paula's even had me down at Green Lane doing some planting, and I never thought that I would have green fingers, but I have to say, thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to getting more involved and cultivating and growing and just having great fun.
Amazing.
Amazing, Carol.
Pete, do you want to introduce yourself? Pete, you're on mute, I think. Pete, you're on mute.
You mute him.
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm Pete. I'm a sort of founder member of Earth Moves. It's really good that we're still going after 5 years or so, and that we're actually realising our aims and objectives really well. We've got this new site. We've moved from the greenhouse to these 4 acres in Wallasey, and this workshop today is really important because it's what we're doing is like really trying to bring the community out, sort of get involved with what we're doing even more. And I think the lessons from here are going to be great for everyone to actually take on, and also find a common sort of ground for all of us that are here as we move forward, because we'll have some really good advice, I'm sure. So thank you to Tara and Mark for coming along for this. Thank you.
No worries. So who's on iPhone? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Lindsay.
That's you, yeah. I think you're on mute.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Lindsay. iPhone is not my name. Hiya. I'm afraid I'm more of an absent friend. I try to get on these calls more often than I'm succeeding. So I'm amazed I've actually got on this time. So I love Earth Moves. Pete and Paula are like my brother and sister that I never had, you know, they're just wonderful. So like a colleague has just been saying, I don't really believe I have green fingers, but I've got over my hang up now, and yeah, I actually can grow things. So that's it really. I'm at the very early stages of being involved with Earth Moves. Time gets in the way, job gets in the way, and then I can't always get on these damn things. But I'm just pleased I've finally got through, and to see everyone. Tara, Peter, hello. I've heard about you so much. So yeah, here I am. Hello.
Thanks, that's really nice. So Alison, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Alison Joseph. I got involved with Earth Moves last year. I got to know Paula through well, your mum, through Paula O'Hare, and I've done quite a lot of courses with Earth Moves, and I'm getting to know everybody now, and I'm also with a self-advocacy group in Knowsley because I live in Height in Knowsley. I don't live on the Wirral, so I thought it'd be really good to help me with these skills for self-advocacy and getting involved a bit more with that side of things.
Yeah, and we will be sending everyone a certificate after this who participated in today. So you can add that to like any link.
Oh, great! Yeah,
really good at boosting morale, I think, because when she's there and with Alison, I just feel so happy. I don't know what it is about her. She just makes me smile, and she laughs. And the rude thing she was saying last time, don't worry, Alison won't repeat it.
Right, who's the last person? CL Flo. Who's that? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, CLFO.
Yeah. Hi, it's Sam.
Sam, hi Sam. Wait, your camera's not on, you know.
Oh, well, I don't know why. It should be.
It doesn't matter. You can leave it off if.
Well, I don't know how to work it.
Don't worry. As long as you can see us.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody.
If you look at the left-hand corner of your screen, there's a microphone on the video icon. If it's got a cross on it, you just need to click it off.
Sometimes if your internet connection is very good, it won't work.
Yeah.
We'd love to see you.
Oh, there we go. Hello.
Yay.
Okay. Hi.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, yes. I've just recently kind of joined. I went around to the site and I thought it was great. 4 acres with great potential. Pete showed me around and Paula. Yeah, it'd be nice to see a lot of it just kept like it is, but kind of improved environmentally, so there's more species and birds and everything, which kind of requires some specialist advice, but it's got great potential. I was really impressed and taken back. 4 acres is nice, decent size as well, so it's great.
Yeah, obviously we're very grateful to Wirral Council for having the foresight to link up with a community group about its land, so that's been pretty cool, and that is down to campaigning and communications, which thank you Sam leads us helpfully on to our presentation today.
Okay, so we'll put ourselves on mute.
Yeah,
we'll open up for Q&A at the end.
Yeah, we'll do a Q&A at the end, but our first slide today we do want to ask you guys some questions. So can everybody see the presentation? Yeah, amazing. So do you want to talk about some of the campaigns do you want to start, Mark, because it's your slides?
Shall I go first, then you do yours after?
Yeah, that's
the way around.
That's probably the best thing, yeah.
So so Paula kindly invited us here today. I don't know much about gardening or farming at all. The reason Paula asked us today is because I understand that Earth Moves also sees itself as potentially something that could be a campaigning force in the local community around issues that mean a lot to the people involved. So currently I work for a select committee made up of politicians from different parties and no party at all. And obviously we often get community groups like yourselves approaching us with things that they want us to support. And then before I did that, I actually I used to work in campaigning myself. So I was kind of, trying to influence rather than working with people who are the influenced. So hopefully I picked up a few things over the last couple of years, which might be worth you guys thinking about as a group when thinking about how you might want to influence things on the Wirral and kind of things that matter to Earth Moves. We've already done introductions, so I might actually, and kind of got a little bit of an idea of your background and why you're involved. So I might actually skip. Should I skip these questions? Yeah.
There's some examples.
Yeah, so just a couple of examples of. Well, I was going to ask you about a campaign that might have inspired you recently. I think the one by Marcus Rashford to extend free school meals was a pretty impressive one during lockdown. And then these are just two that I was involved in the past. So one was about was set up in honour of Joe Cox to kind of get policymakers to think about loneliness as a problem in communities, which I understand Earth Moves does a lot of kind of tackling around social isolation and stuff, which is really important in these times. And then the other thing was I was involved in a campaign to make pubs seen as assets of the local community to kind of stop them from getting demolished and developed. So I think whatever the campaign is, whether it's environmental or loneliness or pubs, I think that there's a few steps that you should always think about. So I think the first thing is you've got to think about what the problem is you're trying to solve. It's really important, and never, and sometimes I think often when you're starting off, it's some really small local things that are actually achievable, that you can actually make a difference, is really important. Second thing is to do your research. So make sure you understand. You understand the problem really well. You understand what the potential solutions might be. The third thing is find useful allies. So we'll come on to that a little bit later, but kind of understanding who's likely to support you in the community. 4 is knowing who to lobby. So who actually are the decision makers locally who can actually find a solution to this problem. And then finally is how. Which is obviously what me and Sarah are talking about today. How do you influence decision makers? So you might want to have a little think about problems in the local area. I know Europa Pools and Birkenhead's just been announced it's going to be closed, which is obviously pretty terrible for young people in the local area. Or it might be something like a Liverpool to Wirral night bus, which has been cut. Or more relevant to Earth Moves, it might be around protecting public green space or opening up more land for common use. And there's just another couple of examples that might be relevant to the Wirral there as well. So again, can I take this down so I can see the slides? Sorry, so I can remind myself. Yeah. So do your research. So why does it matter? Who does it affect? So for example, take the Europa Pools. If you want to you probably want to start with putting together some ideas like this. So for example, why does it matter? It means a lot of young people in the area don't get access to to exercise. Who does it affect? Obviously, young people, particularly people who can't afford to travel further afield for different facilities. What can be done? Well, obviously, it's a funding problem because of the pandemic. So maybe trying to access some emergency funding. Who can make a difference? The council, and then who's your target audience? It might be for example, local press, local MP, that sort of thing. And then the thing that's really important to remember is that while facts and research is important. That what really makes a difference and having an influence is being able to tell a story. So whether that's perhaps like a local child who only learned to swim because of having that facility available. These kind of like heart-tugging stories are the ones that grab everybody's attention, really. Like, everybody turns off quite quickly if you don't have a story, whether that's an MP or a local journalist or people in the community. And then you talk about finding useful allies. Obviously the local community themselves, I mean, that's the most important. So for Earth Moves, I mean, all the kind of community events that you guys are doing, it's really important about getting community buy-in for what you're about. The other thing is councillors. So I know that Paula and Peter, I think, have arranged for some councillors to do tours of the site before. Obviously it's more difficult at the moment with COVID. Your local MP is really important. Even though your local MP doesn't technically have decision-making powers locally, they have a lot of soft influence. So people on the council tend to listen to them, especially in the Wirral, where you've got a Labour majority council and 4 Labour MPs. They're obviously they're obviously got quite a good relationship and often in contact. So MP buy-in is a really important thing. Charities and community groups who might share the same values as Earth Moves. And the other thing is as we saw with Marcus Rashford, local celebrities, again, really important in highlighting your cause. Knowing who to lobby is really important again. So whether that's the public, local press, the council, local businesses, local politicians, and I think the really important thing when you're thinking about who you're lobbying is about, when you approach them, is about having the right message for your target audience. But we'll talk a little bit about that later. Adapting what you say to who sounds obvious, but it's actually really, really important. So influencing the community, I think the community is your most important ally, and I think that's as true for Earth Moves as it is for any local group. If you don't have community buy-in, you don't really have anything. That's like when you go to local councillors, when you go to your local MP, showing you have the the local people on your side is what's going to give you influence and status. Obviously the top one's a little bit difficult during COVID, but things like doing stuff like this on Zoom and sharing it on public meetings on social media to get like kind of wider buy-in is really important. The other thing is to go to local networks. So who might have already done some of the work for you. So local charities, faith groups, mutual aid and community groups are really, really important. So going out, telling them what Earth Moves is about, and so they can share your news and stuff with their networks. That's really important. Like we said, social media, Facebook is obviously incredibly important. I'll leave Tara to talk about that more later. And again, and local national media again is really important. Like Wirral Globe's actually got quite a decent readership locally, and it's also read by a lot of people. It tends to be read by older demographic, which are more likely to volunteer. So it might be worth thinking if you get any local papers to do a write-up of what you're doing. And then you've got to think about, then once you've got community support, you can think about how you want to utilize that support. So for example, if Earth Moves on to protect a piece of land, for example, for common use, or take over another piece of land by the community, you could petition the community to get or get them to write letters to the local council, to local MP. Obviously, demo is a little bit hard at the moment with COVID restrictions, but something that you could think about in the future. Social media campaigns are really important. I think the most important thing is to be creative. Things that are gonna catch the eye and get sort of like local media attention. I once worked on a social care campaign, and somebody on the team had an idea to have this, around more funding for older people to access social care. And they basically just had this giant inflatable pig represented a piggy bank, which they took everywhere with them, and it did work in terms of getting local press attention. So then we go on to lobbying politicians, and thinking about what's in it for them. So again, as I kind of spoke about at the beginning, I think research is really important here, in terms of you want to try and find a local MP or local councillor who, you know, maybe has got a bit of a history of being interested in green or sort of communal projects, and you know, you can adapt the way you approach them based on their interests. And this is, you know, make sure your case is really persuasive. That's again why I said about, you know, thinking really clearly about, you know, what your issue or ask, you know, who's affected, what it means for them, what the solution is. You know, it's really, really important that you have kind of clear answers to these questions, and also prepared to be challenged. You know, councillors and MPs will push back, because obviously lots of different people are approaching them all the time with different ideas, different causes. So if you've got something that, you know, is quite straightforward with a straightforward solution, you're more likely to get their buy-in. And then you've also got to think about what's in it for them. So, you know, you've got to also kind of look at it from that perspective as well. So one, obviously all politicians are ultimately answerable to their constituents. So you want to demonstrate why it really matters to people in their patch, in their ward or their constituency. And then also, you know, you want to offer them something in it as well. So all MPs and councillors are much more likely to do something if there's a photo opportunity. So whether, you know, and something they can put in their constituency newsletter in the local paper, which makes them look like they're plugged into their constituency rather than, you know, in the town hall or Westminster. So that's something, you know, that's something really important to think about. Again, that's kind of hard at the moment with COVID. There are different ways you could do that. And I think the important thing is, you know, let them be the champion, because they're always going to be able to get more buy-in off other decision makers than you are as a group. But it's about staying in control. So, you know, let them take the credit, let them have the publicity, as long as you're still in control, as long as they're still essentially, you know, as long as they're not adapting your cause. I think it's fine for them to kind of be the face if you want to maximize influence. I think I already spoke a little bit about this before, but utilising politicians is really important. Obviously, having a good relationship with councils is really important, because, you know, local authorities obviously commission services. They may well commission Earth Moves for things in the future. I'm going to talk a little bit about social commissioning in a moment. But for example, there's all kinds of things, you know, whether it's sort of mental health services. You know, there's a lot of mental health benefits from working outside, especially post-COVID. So kind of, you know, so making the case to councillors who then can make the case to commissioners locally that you're a kind of worthwhile cause to support. Obviously, MPs have got a lot of influence over local and national decision makers. If you get politicians involved, it's more likely to increase your publicity in local press and on social media, which is really important. And the other thing is, a lot of MPs and councillors have a lot of expertise and knowledge. They'll know how the system works better than you do. So, you know, it's good to build a relationship and actually use them as a useful source of information and advice of how to have influence locally. So that kind of brings me on to the last slide from me before I hand over to Tara, which is challenges and opportunities in 2021 and beyond. So, well, the obvious one is COVID. So, you know, there's obviously going to be a lot of financial pressures, both locally and nationally, this year, and well, probably for the next couple of years. But, you know, and so whether that, you know, and that's obviously going to put restraints on kind of funding things for things that you may want to do. But then, you know, but there's also some positives with COVID as well. I mean, one thing that's been really impressive is the absolute explosion in civic action. So just to give you one example, there was a couple of hundred of mutual aid groups in the UK before COVID. So they're kind of informal community groups which are set up to organise locally and provide services locally. And now there's over 4,000, and there's a real interest, both locally and, you know, both in local councils across the country and also in Parliament for groups like yourselves who are, we're doing things locally with the community. So I think, and also, and I suppose as well, if you can kind of sell some of what you do with trying to like rebuilding the community after COVID, you can kind of you can maybe tap into that, some of that sympathy too. The other big thing is obviously Brexit. I mean, in many ways, we've had a kind of quite a divisive last couple of years with Brexit, and it might, some people feel alienated from one another for disagreements. But I suppose whether you're a Remainer or a Leaver, it's also opened up some interesting space as well. So, for example, one part of the Brexit deal was that British government now has more control over commissioning. And it might seem a little bit abstract from you guys, but I'll explain why it is actually quite relevant. So for something that the government's just released a procurement green paper. So basically under kind of EU competition laws, the way there was quite strict restrictions on local authorities, the way they commission services. So you basically had to prioritize kind of whatever kind of group approached you that were able to offer service for the lowest cost. That tended to be what was prioritized. But now there's because we no longer are kind of covered by that piece of European regulation, there's now more room for greater focus on social value, which basically means that a local authority could basically commission a group like yourselves to run a project based on the fact that you're more likely to you're more likely to kind of like provide value to the local community than somebody that can necessarily might do it for cheaper. So I think that's a really important piece of information to be armed with when you approach local authority commissioners, and also to keep an eye on the green paper. I mean, Earthmoves might even want to make a submission to that, just to kind of, and it kind of impresses, it kind of impresses local decision makers if you kind of know what you're talking about. So I think that. Yeah, so I think it's worth, hopefully that will turn into a piece of legislation this year, and that should give local authorities a bit more flexibility of who and how they give money, and to more local groups and more kind of socially conscious groups like yourselves. Whether they'll have the money to do that is another question, but yeah, it's definitely something worth keeping an eye on. Anyway, sorry, I'm babbling on now, so I'll pass over to
So
Tara.
before we go on to my bit, obviously I don't want to just like fire information, so I'll just like stop sharing that for now, and then we can have a little bit of a discussion. So does anyone have any questions for Mark, but also any like cool campaigns they've seen over the last year that they found really impressive or want to talk about? Anyone have any?
Come on, questions? Any questions? So what was that last little bit, Tara? Any campaigns you've been impressed by, did you say?
Yeah, so like Mark talked about he was impressed by Marcus Rashford's campaign to meals during the summer holidays for kids from low-income families. And obviously St John's Ambulance at the moment are running the COVID mass vaccination centre, so they're doing a big volunteer recruitment drive, and a lot of people, millions of people on furlough across the UK are signing up to St John's Ambulance to help with that. So there's been a lot of interesting campaigns, and I don't know if anyone
or anything that you'd like to see change locally, which Earthmoves might be able to get involved in and support.
Highlight the fact of the exponential growth of community groups, and that is so lovely to know that people finally realise that we've got to be there for each other and have each other's backs. We've got to like do this together. No woman is an island. We all need to rely on each other more. In our case, community food growing is one way. We get everyone together with a very positive outcome of free organic food, but also the recent film some of us were in was about promoting green issues and greenwashing and things like that. So we will do it in our own way, but certainly when I'm with other people and it's a safe environment, I feel so happy and I'm having a great time, and that's what I kind of want everyone to get, and the more groups like that, the better. So I was really heartened to hear that incredible statistic. Thank you, Mark.
That all quite lucky, and we're all really that this is sort of stuff's being funded, but that was through like the hard work of like everyone at Earth Moves trying to get the funding, which is really hard to get. And
well done.
Well
done, everyone who did
also,
that,
like
worked for that.
it's a big group effort. Like all the social media stuff we do, like we've done written letters to politicians, emails to the council, meetings at the council, like, and the skills through campaigning.
Even just like you say, just attending this and sharing your ideas and your energy, that's given to Earth Moves or to whatever community you're doing it to. So even attending means that you're part of the success, you're part of the moving forward, but by just turning up, by just being yourself. And we only ask one thing: please abide by our safe spaces policy, no racism, homophobia, transphobia, bulldoze and bullying, disabilities, just civilized things like that. That's all we ask. And I don't we believe the stranger and the more unusual the better. If you're like a wacky person, then you know it's been like kind of marginalized a bit. If you're autistic or you know you're different in some way, then we just love that. So
cool. Yeah. Well, I'm just conscious of time, so I'm just going to carry on now. I know it's a lot of information. But we have done like a little toolkit for you guys as well, that I can send the link to.
So Tara and Mark have generously give all this information away to you, so you can have a pack of this information to remind you of the things that you learned. So if we just mute again then.
Yeah, so if everyone sends mutes, and I'll put the link to the toolkit in the chat as well, so you can have a look at that later. Because it is a lot of information, I understand, to take in. There we go.
Oh, it's cool for everyone to share this with the friends and that, isn't it, Tara?
Yeah, that's completely fine. Yeah, it just, yeah, because we've got the Earth Moves logo on there as well, and obviously the National Lottery, which funded it. So yeah, I'm just going to share my screen again. Oh, that's the wrong one, isn't it? Sorry. Sometimes I'm not very good at this. There it is. Share screen. Right, share, present. Right, sorry. Take a couple of seconds to do this. Share screen. Okay, cool. Oh, not share it with other people. No, that's not right. Present. That was better. Sorry. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, yeah. So obviously media is a really important tool for getting your message out there, and local journalists usually cover like quite a few titles. So people who work at World Globe might also work at the Echo and other sort of local papers across the Northwest. Borough Council also has its own newspaper that it sends out regularly, so you can also contact the council's press office to try and get your stories included in that. And other media that does public, obviously Earth Moves publishes its own magazine as well, but other community groups like the local Wirral community organisation has a sort of like online news page where you can send in your press releases too. And when you send in something to the media, you want to make sure it follows the TRUTH acronym. So the T stands for like topical or like a sort of trend. So topical would be it's timely, so it's happening this week. Like this week we opened the site and the mayor was there or whatever. Or it could be topical, so like if Marcus Rashford was doing his campaign on free school meals and you were a charity that was providing meals to young people, you could, you know, send a press release saying like we support Marcus Rashford, we're doing the XYZ in the community. It needs to be relevant, so it needs to be relevant to the local area. So Liverpool Echo wouldn't be really interested in a story that was from Essex. Also got to be relevant, you know, for their readership. So say if you're sending something to industry press, so like say a cyclist magazine, if you were doing a petition maybe in Port of a cycle lane, it'd be relevant to them, but it wouldn't be so relevant to I don't know, a municipal journal or something. Unusual, so media loves anything unusual. So like if you're breaking a Guinness World Record, or if you know, you find like a rare species of plant or bird or whatever, that's always really interesting and makes for a good story. Trouble, well, this is not something that you want to get known for, but if it bleeds, it leads is an old saying for newspapers, sadly. But yeah, you don't want to really go there. But if your organisation is ever in trouble, say something illegal has happened, or you know, one of your staff members is caught in a crime, you might find yourself sadly ended up in the local paper. And the last one is the most important one, really. It's got to be like a human story. So like, you know, you might read things in the paper of, you know, some like a young person recovering from cancer, or a human story. So the egg run every year where the motorbike people take Easter eggs to kids warden at Harrow Park always gets covered, because it's such a nice human story that people can really relate to. And if you think about this truth acronym every time you're doing like a press release or thinking about putting stuff out there, it's really, really useful, because you really want your story to get picked up, to get your information out there. So that's media and press releases. And in your pack that I've sent is an example of how you should lay out a press release. So most journalists are quite lazy. It was not because they are lazy, really. It's just because they have not got much time, because they usually are only paid part-time and stuff now in local journalism. So in your packs, I've written how you should lay out a press release, for the information and what order it should be in, and never send it as an attachment. Always send it in the email body itself, because most people now don't open email attachments from people they don't know, because it could be a virus. So best to just copy and paste everything in the email body, so a journalist can read that quickly and ascertain if their story is interesting to them and their readership. Okay, so traditional marketing is always great. You know, I'll never ever slag off leaflets and posters. I know people say we live in the digital age, but I think putting posters and sending out leaflets is really important. Obviously, got to be made of recyclable material. And freebies is also a really important traditional marketing tool. So I know a community garden group locally here in Hackney gave out, they were an LGBT gardening group, and they gave out some rainbow chard seeds to people at a community event. And they like made their own little like seed kit. I didn't really know how they'd done it, but they'd like somehow made some mulch with the seeds, and then like they'd cut it into paper and then like just stamped on their like information, so like their Facebook page and their website, which was quite cool. And then you could like tear off the paper and plant it at home when you got home, to plant your own rainbow chard. And know about the LGBT gardening group as well, which is quite cool. But anyway, there's loads of cool freebies. Obviously, you want to stay away from the plastic ones and the ones that people just put in their drawer, but you know, pencils and stuff like that is always a good way to get people interested and know about your organization. So social media. So hopefully you found out about this event today via social media, by our lovely David's hard work, posting loads of cool stuff to get our reach up. So social media is just like so important, and lockdown has shown that it's just a great way to get to find out what everyone's doing, learn new stuff, and you know, watch cool videos. But some interesting different social media platforms here. So you've got YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you know, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Reddit. There's loads and loads of different types of social media sites. The main three obviously are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And Instagram, they have all different audiences as well. So when you're thinking about using social media and putting your message out there, you might want to have a little think before you put the message out, which platform you want to use, what the message is going to say, and what's your sort of target audience. So some of these facts here, 90% of Instagram users are under 35. So say if you wanted to do a post aimed at young people, if you wanted like to do a youth event or something, you might want to use Instagram or Snapchat rather than Facebook. But say if you were doing like a kids event, like our story time for LGBT History Month, what we did, you might want to advertise it on Facebook, because 74% of parents use Facebook. And say if you want to get like your press release out there, or a news site, or your magazine, you might want to use Twitter, because basically 100% of journalists are on Twitter, and you might want to tag them in your posts so they can see what's going on and be alerted to your news. So yeah, here's some of the three most useful social media platforms for campaigning and getting your message out there, because they're the most commonly used, basically. So Facebook is the most widely used platform in the world, apart from some of the Chinese sites like Weibo. It's really widely used. It's very simple to use. You know, you can create an open page like the Earth Moves page, or you can create closed groups. So if you just want, so for instance, I'm in a dance group in London, and we've got our own Facebook group that we have, and our dance teacher puts like little videos on there. It's just for a closed small number of people. This is quite an interesting fact that parents look at Facebook for around 1 hour each day, which is really interesting. I just thought that was quite a cool fact. Yeah, people, and now in lockdown, that's probably more. So when people get bored, they go scrolling through Facebook, you know, see what their friends are up to, but also seeing like interesting news stories or videos. So it's quite a good site, really. Especially if you want to start like a conversation or do like communication, like both ways. So we've got Instagram, that's really widely used as well. We see this is a photo-led platform, so it's quite quick, into the name, Instagram. But you obviously need good quality photos for this. You can create a closed account. It's used by like younger people, teenagers. And then we've got Twitter. This is used by loads of journalists and loads of, like every single politician is on Twitter, and every single journalist basically. So Twitter's really good. Politicians love it. So if you ever get like a politician to come down to your event, or a local political party or campaign that you've been doing, definitely take a picture of them and tag them on Twitter, because they'll love it and they'll share it and they'll love you for it and help you. It's like a good sort of like low-key bribe, isn't it, Mark? Tagging a politician on Twitter, they love to be recognised.
Yeah, definitely. They'll often ask you.
They'll be like, can you tag me in that on Twitter? Like this photo of me like doing community things. Obviously in COVID that's quite hard at the moment, but you know, it'll be over soon. I'm gonna go back to tagging our politicians on Twitter. So there's some things to consider about social media. So once you post something, it's really difficult to delete and stop it being shared. Basically everything that you ever post online on social media is like undeletable, because there's like servers on the internet that, you know, track everything ever posted on Twitter. So all politicians, when they post embarrassing things, they can delete it, but there are sort of applications that track all of Twitter's data, which can unearth it and cause further embarrassment to the person that might post something silly. You can be cautious and have locked inward-facing social media accounts as well as public-facing ones, but if you're campaigning, obviously you want it to be as public as possible to get the message out there. And it's also really important to consider your audience. So who is your audience when you're making a post? Is it older people? Is it local residents, people interested in your cause, journalists? And then you might want to think about who your audience is, about what language you use, what images you use. So say if you wanted to do a planting event for older people, you might want to advertise that with a picture of an older person. So they'd think, oh, this is for me, like over 65's growing group, like there's a picture of an older person planting something that's, you know, something that I recognize there, so I'll click on it and have a look. And then you also want to think about what your what is your message, like what are you actually trying to say when you post something. So is it about events, is it you lobbying, are you promoting something like an event, or you're just trying to connect with the wider community? So obviously if you have a look at the Earth Moves Facebook, we do that quite a lot, just getting our reach up by like putting out cool news stories that we've seen that's relevant to Earth Moves. So just helping like connect with the wider community of people that are interested in the same sort of stuff we are in. So yeah, it's really important to think about like what message you actually want to get across when you're posting. It's like really key. So yeah, connecting with people through social media. So definitely tweet directly at people if you want to connect with them. You see a little example in the picture here of someone reporting something to a local journalist, and she's given him their email there, so they can, you know, do a story. It's quite cool. You can see Wirral Council has got a photo competition with somebody, a Countryfile presenter. I don't watch that show, but I'm sure that little girl must love it, 'cause she's really made up to meet that presenter there. Maybe there's some countryside. There is a lot of rural people still in the Wirral with farms and stuff. So maybe she is an avid watcher of Countryfile for the sheepdogs and stuff. So yeah, tag relevant people. So say if Wirral Council say if we wanted to say thank you to Wirral Council when we finally launch Telegraph Lane after it looks a bit prettier, we say, oh, thank you at Wirral Council for thinking about community groups and giving us this lease so we can do X, Y, Z. And Wirral Council really like that as well. And it's good to tag people and say thank you to people as much as you can, because they love it. And like in the future, when they've got like, you know, some commission and thing to do, they'll be like, you know what about Earth Moves? They're always thanking us on social media and bigging us up. So, you know, why don't we give them a bit more funding? And it's always super important to say thank you to people that funding you, because it helps you get funding in the future as well. And also sometimes you have to do it. So with this course, for instance, the National Lottery paid for it, so we have to mention it. Just because that's part of the funding agreement, but it's also good as well because it helps you get future funding. You might want to follow relevant pages and people from your accounts as well. So if you look at our Earth Moves Instagram, for instance, you'll see that Earth Moves Instagram follows loads of different ones. Like I think we follow like a Wirral Sunset Instagram and some of the Wirral sort of community groups as well that we like and think are cool. And we make sure to like their content as well, because we want to support other community groups as well and get them a greater reach and make sure, you know, so if we like something on social media, our followers will see it as well, which is quite a cool function. So we're helping other community groups get their sort of info out there. It's quite nice. If we're doing a co-hosted event with another group, say the Wirral Multicultural Centre, we might want to add them as a co-host to a Facebook event that we've made, which helps promote them as well for the work that we might be doing together. So we did some of that over the summer with our young people's group, planting a diversity garden at the Wirral Multicultural Centre. It's quite cool. And we also want to share images of people that are volunteering. So if you have a look at our Earth Moves account, you'll see Carol on our Instagram digging away, looking great and glamorous while gardening. It's hard to do that, Carol, but you pulled it off. And it's great to share those real life human images of like volunteers, and it's just great. And it's a great thank you as well. Like has Carol planting our wicker hedge. What was it? A wicker hedge? No, was it rose? Yeah. And it's great, and it's really cool shareable organic content, you know, that we've made some how-to videos over lockdown of me and Mark grew our own Sicilian oregano and made our own dried herbs, and we posted the how-to video of how to dry and make your own herbs, which a lot of people watched. And you can connect with the people by sharing local interesting photos, maybe of the beach or like a cool little sandpiper you might have seen when you're out. And also offer freebies and events. It's quite important. So your content and your content creators. So volunteers are great content creators, obviously people that work for you, and other partner organizations such as Wirral Change. So to get really cool content for social media, basically everyone nowadays is a content creator. It doesn't matter if it's a bit blurry, the picture, doesn't matter if it's like a bit out of focus. Most people are really used to like grassroots content, and people just love to see as much content as possible on their feed, especially nowadays when people are in a lot and having to refresh their feed a lot. So what I do in my job is I have like a WhatsApp group with the bin men. And they sometimes send like cool photos like on their route. So if they're catching like a cool sunrise in Hackney, or like someone's put something funny in the bin. So someone tried to put a giant teddy bear in the recycling bin. It's not recyclable. So they send it to our WhatsApp and we put it on Twitter like, please don't put the giant teddy bear in the recycling bin. It's not recyclable. Here's how you recycle toys or something. But you could do that if you have volunteers. You could create a little WhatsApp group with the person who manages the social media accounts and say, oh, if you do any interesting work, like send it on WhatsApp and we'll stick it on social media. And you can have a look at our Facebook and see some of the cool stuff we've been doing. And also like screenshots as well, quite cool. Like, so like right now we could screenshot what's going on. And then share that, just show that like, you know, Earth Moves is doing some stuff, and to let people know that us as an organisation we're like getting stuff done. And what sort of content can you create? So obviously photographs is the easiest one, screen prints, you know, videos, really short clips, little music, you can create a little song, you know, do and you can share texts and documents as well, links to websites, links to the magazine, basically anything you can think of, you can make content out of it, make a little GIF. Okay, so I just wanted to go through the importance. Yeah, I know we're going over time, so I'll go really quick. The importance of images and videos. So if you have a look at this example, for instance, you can see it's the same post about toy recycling, but you can see with the image 3,913 people looked at it, but without the image only 317 looked at it. So having an image or a video of your post is so important, because people are much, and this is not even a very good image, it's a rubbish like clip art thing. When it's an image of a person or a face or a person smiling, that people are even more likely to look at it. Like humans love human faces, and anything with a face like a person like will automatically like linger a bit on it, and that means that the contents reach them. So it's quite cool. Yeah, so it has like a good picture and a rubbish picture. So on the left we've got a cute kid, some nice looking firemen. Everyone wants to see that on the social media feed, so that's like quite a cool post. But on the right, like some kids just looking really bored at a table, rubbish. So I wouldn't really bother like posting that image. It just wasn't very good. Yeah, so like people smiling and people looking cute and little cute animals, that's good content. So yeah, social media trends like memes, hashtags and viral challenges are all like quite good idea to get involved with, and that'll help boost your content as well, because it'll come up higher in people's feeds. Fundraising, taking action online. So you might also want to have some different platforms actually that you can use to, you know, crowdfund via social media, or start petitions. You can take action and link these other sort of content you can create, so like fundraisers and petitions. And you can also use social media to directly lobby your local councillors and MP by tagging them in posts, asking them to share your content, or just saying, here, this is happening. So you could say, oh, we've started, say if the people in Wirral who might want to save Europa pools, saying we've started a petition to save Europa pools at Angela Regal MP, please sign the petition, or something like that. And if you want to organise events, that's also content. And you also might want to use paid for social media advertising. So you can do this for as little as £10 and boost an Instagram post or a Facebook post if you want more people to come to an event or just see your content and maybe like your page. Okay, I think that is enough for now. Stop share. So does anyone have any questions or anything?
Yeah, give Tara a clap.
Thank you. I'm Mark.
That was so good. Really interesting. Things like the Instagram, I had no. Just talking from my personal, selfish point of view, because of my business. Me and my sister run, if people didn't know, a vintage clothing business, and we do a lot online and we do a lot on Instagram. I had no idea that, for example, was it 90% are under 35? I should know that, but that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Other stuff as well, obviously.
It's great that you run an ethical business like recycling clothes, and it's really good that you can do that and you provide a great service. So you're helping people to provide them with clothes that are really ethical. So
that will last. Quality and that will last. Thank you. That's really sweet of you to say. Thank you.
I'm glad Tara's workshop works for you as well, because you do great work in your own way, you know, you really do, and you look fabulous, right? Everyone.
I know.
Little insect brooches.
Oh wow! Oh god.
So does anyone have questions? Or does anyone like want to? Does anyone have like they have like an idea or something they want to share or anything?
No, I would just like to say that was an amazing presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
Yeah, it was so good. Both of them were. They're really good.
So we've shared the link to the PDF toolkit on the Facebook event and in the chat. Malcolm will share slides, and we'll also send you your certificate as well.
Paula, would you like to say anything? Paula O'Hare. Paula O'Hare changed the hair.
Yeah, I found it really interesting, especially about sort of where and how to share stuff on social media that was going to get you the best results in a campaign. I thought that was really interesting, and it's food for thought about a lot of things that I'm doing personally as well. Like, so, you know, it's very useful to me.
And also when you're on social media, you'll see like interesting things that are coming up. So for instance, with the like with the Europa Falls thing, obviously that's really grim that Wirral Council wants to shut that and Bebbington leisure centre down, because that means on a peninsula a lot of little kids won't be able to swim. It's quite sad, really. But I saw on
Joseph, would you like to share anything? Do you gain anything that
Who? Stu?
No, Alison.
Oh, sorry, Alison. Sorry.
What sort of thing?
What do you, just any feedback you've got about today, about what you thought, about anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably try and use some of it in communications with other self-advocates, you know, and try and, because we have a big self-advocates conference each year in Blackpool, and trying to push things forward for people with a learning disability, and you know, how to direct their own lives, and also about people in long stay hospitals and things like that. So that's a lot to do with lobbying and you know, communicating with people higher up. So I think it'll be quite useful.
Event that you're part of. Please feel free to download the pack and share it with all the other people who go to that.
Yeah.
Shared.
Yeah, it's so true that it's really useful to use social media. So for instance, obviously I work at a council, but sometimes a resident, or say if you were in a long-term stay in hospital and there was a problem and the problem wasn't getting solved, if you tag them on Twitter, the problem gets solved quite quickly. So in the council I work for, like for instance, this lady hadn't had some repair to her council flat. Because she tagged the council on Twitter, I just rang up and was like, can you sort this out? It looks really bad that she's tagging us on Twitter. And then they just sorted it out that day. And she'd been for months and months on the Twitter.
That's so true. Just talking, sorry, just to get this is sort of relevant, sort of isn't. But for example, yesterday we went to Sefton Park, and this is to do with wildlife, I suppose, safety and stuff. But there was some swans that were stuck on the ice and didn't move. I phoned the RSPCA, twice. They were being stuck there for about 3 hours, obviously in distress, yada yada yada. Then the fire brigade said that they need to get a referral from the RSPCA, and I think, and also an officer has to be there to deal with the possible injured animal, things like that. And 4 hours it took for them to come. But I think it was because some people put it on social media and tagged maybe even Twitter. I really think it's because of that they actually. I don't mean to be nasty, just because of I guess resources and loads of other things, but I do think that probably what it was.
Provided assistance. You didn't just walk past. So good for you.
Yeah, lots of other people. Thank you, though. Yeah.
Say what? Everyone was there. Say, Sam.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, formative. Thanks.
Cool. Well, that's it. I think I don't want to take it
around everyone. We'll just ask Jelly.
Oh, sorry.
To give some comments as well, and David.
Sorry, David. Sorry, Jelly.
So, Gelly, have you got anything you'd like to say?
Only that I found it very useful. I mean, I was running a world music agency for the last, I don't know how many years, and I never made any money. And then one day I realized it was like a flash of light that I wasn't running a business, I was running a campaign. And it was like, I have missed 15 years of actually understanding I was running a campaign and wondering why I wasn't making any money. But now I'm actually on it properly. I mean, COVID's giving me time to focus.
Ellie, you've got a fabulous energy. I told you, energy is really
well. Obviously, this is only an introduction to campaigns and comms, but in the toolkit, there's some links to like how to better use Twitter from like a national communications thing for charities.
Yeah,
and if you go